Welcome to Truth Uncompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by sourcevibrations.com. I am love. I am peace. I am free. I have abundance. I have everything within me. For I was, for I am, for I always be. We are love. We are peace. We are free. We have abundance. We have everything within us. For we are, for we will always be. For Mother Earth is love. For Mother Earth has peace. For Mother Earth is free. For Mother Earth has abundance. For Mother Earth has everything within her. For she was, for she is, for she will always be. And so it is spoken. So it has been written, and it is done.
You have entered into a dimension of truth, where time does not exist and illusions are shattered. The journey of truth is intense. The journey of truth will set you free. Consider this a warning as you enter the dimension of truth uncompromised. All right, family. Welcome to the Truth Uncompromised show. I am your host, Rhonda, and tonight is March the 14th. We have a great show planned for you tonight. This should be the conclusion of our series, The Forgotten Black Nobility and the Americas Part 8. So if you have not listen to this series, if this is your first time listening in, whether you're listening in live or you're listening in via YouTube, I highly, highly encourage you to go back to part 1 of the series, because a lot of great gems were given in this series that connects a lot of dots to the real history of the Americas. And the reference, one of the main references that we use for this series is two books by a brother named Lee Cummings, an author. One is called The Negro Question Part 4, The Missing Link, and the other one is The Negro Question Part 6, The 13 Black Colonies. I highly recommend you get these two books in your collection. Very, very filled with a lot of great information. It's an easy read. It will not take you long to read them, and they are priced very, very reasonable. And once again, I do want to thank Brother Lee Cummings for his work. He actually has a couple of other books out as well. I just ordered two other ones, and I'm going to read through them, and I'll let the family know how those are. One is on the Egyptian dynasty, if I'm not mistaken, and I can't remember what the other one was on. But these two, I highly, highly recommend them. He did a fantastic job with his research. He provided receipts in his research. I really respect his work. Okay, so last week we, of course, had bombshells once again. Now we are dealing with who are really the founding fathers. So we know what the typical American education, who they are teaching as the founding fathers, but that is not so. In the work of Lee Cummings in The Negro Question Part 6, The 13 Black Colonies, he provided the proof that the European kings were the ones that are the founders of the 13 colonies, the melanated, quote, quote, black European kings. And he also provided excerpts from the charters of the territories or the quote, quote, colonies that they set up. And interestingly enough, in those charters, it mentioned how the indigenous people were to be treated on the lands. And it said not in any of the charters that we have gone over so far any mention of slavery. Okay, so we're going to pick up on reading through the other charters of the original 13 colonies. I do also want to go over information as well on the indigenous Black Asians as well as the indigenous Black Russians. Okay, so I will bring on my co-host. I see both Sis and Brother Sean, so let me bring on Brother Sean first. Hold on a second here. Peace and love, brother. How are you?
Wholeness and power, sis. I'm well. How about you?
I'm well. It's good to hear your voice.
Likewise.
All right. Let me bring in Sis. Peace and love, Sis Sandra. How are you?
Oh, peace and love to you, Rhonda, and Brother Sean, and the family. And before I go, I thank somebody for sending me, I think it was Sister Cheryl, that information. Thank you so much.
Wasn't that mind-blowing?
Yes, it was. And I didn't get a chance to go through it all, but I scanned it and I said, whoa, woo. You know, that's what they say. It's all about the dollar. Well, excuse me, not the dollar back then.
Right. Yeah, it's really, really interesting. We're actually going to cover that material. It'll fit well in the show that we're going to put together on language.
Good.
So, yeah. So we will eventually go over it. But, yeah, shout out to Sis Cheryl. So, and family, we will share that information with you in detail, but she kind of sent Sis Sandra some information regarding the Hebrew language and how it really translates into some of the key phrases in the Hebrew language, really translates into the financial system, specifically dealing with tribes and all of that. My mouth was just, when I tell you, my mouth was dropped. mind blowing. So we will definitely go over that specifics with you. The particular brother, I think he's a Caucasian brother who did the research for that article. He knocked it out the park. He has some excellent work. He did a hell of a job with it, and it lines up exactly with what we're speaking on who are the original people of these institutions that are currently in play. It's the same exact bloodline. So we will go into more depth on that information when we do the show on language. So, all right, y'all. And as y'all can probably hear, my voice is kind of getting hoarse again. So forgive me. I'm sorry, sis. Go ahead on.
I hope she's listening and tell her I'm thanking her for even thinking about me. I appreciate that.
Okay, sure thing. Yeah, I hope she's listening too. Yeah. Sis Cheryl always drops. She research. I know I research, but a lot of the stuff she come up with, I'm like, how the heck did she find
that? I was cracking up when I read that.
She's a wealth of information, and I so respect her and appreciate her for sure.
Yeah. Just love her.
Absolutely. I was trying to sweet talk her of joining us, not permanent, but whenever she felt up to it. So she knows she is more than welcome because she really has a lot of wealth of information, and I truly appreciate her.
Right.
Okay, so let's go ahead on with the fuckery. Sis, you have anything you want to share with the family this week?
Well, you know what's going on. I said to myself, it's about daggum time they get caught because we can't even pass an SAT test. And I'm like, oh, right. And I'm talking about all these people that pay their children's way into learning. And what do they learn except how to party and be cute? But anyway, I'm just glad that finally came out. I mean, this has been going on for years that we can take our test
for centuries,
never get through.
Right, and let's not, let's be mindful rather of the fact that those institutions, meaning the universities, were never set up for any of the quote common folks or quote lower class. So let's start with that. They were never set up for in the first place. And to me, the good thing about it, well, of course, they always do stuff there's always a motive when they bring crap like this out, okay?
Right.
Take the public, of course, off of all of this weather and astronomical stuff that's going on. That's a separate story. We'll get to that in a second. But I hope that this college scandal with these quote rich folks buying their children way into these universities, and they're not the only ones, because let's be clear.
No.
Their level of rich they really ain't shit when it boils down to the ultra rich. And especially when you tie back to these bloodlines that we've been discussing, they don't even have to buy their children way into these universities because they built the universities. So just by bloodline right, they get to get into these universities. But hopefully this is a wake-up call to the populace on what importance folks put on those degrees. Hopefully this is a wake-up call, because we are conditioning our babies to go and get these degrees to the point where they are riddled with debt equals slavery. And I'm hoping that's what we are getting even out of this Black Nobility series, that the system of commerce was set up for the top bloodlines to always be the winner in a commerce situation. And in order for them always to be the winner, there always has to be someone that they are ciphering wealth from.
Mm-hmm.
And the debt is a huge part of it. It equals slavery. Now, a lot of folks been dropping a lot of videos lately, and I'll get those to you, talking about how slavery, what they're calling slavery, really was just a system of working, okay, or that indenture servitude. Okay, so hopefully folks are starting to make these connections, because now they're tying having a quote degree that you have to pay for, and we're not talking no chump change either. So you go into all this type of debt to get a degree, and 99.9% of people that's getting degrees are going to work for these same corporations tied back to these elite bloodlines, and you're still in perpetual debt, i.e. slavery.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the
same
thing. I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Go ahead, sis. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go on a tangent.
I want one more point. Now, has anybody figured out how come these planes are crashing? Anybody? And didn't the pole shift, the magnetic pole shift, and these people try to figure out why these planes crashing? I got a theory. I don't know how good my theory is.
Don't hit on with your theory. Yes, please.
I got a theory because their instruments are not functioning anymore because they're set to the magnetic pole, and it's not working for. And they can't take control of the planes anymore. They have been changing the guidance systems for a long time. But what about the internal functioning of the plane? And how it banks and turns and jibes and dips. It's all GPS.
Right.
And that's off.
Right.
Totally off. So I was just thinking, I wonder if that has anything to do with all these planes crashing.
That's a very good point.
Of course, the one from the UN, well, we could see that's nasty. Because they always vote for the indigenous folks, So, anyway.
That's a very good point. Someone pointed out to me right before I was getting on the air, and I didn't have a chance to watch it, but Brother Remedy H has a video out about the planes. So he has, and I haven't, listened to it or whatever. So he has a theory as well. But it very well could be that particular model of plane. They did not upgrade to
what's it called? Gyroscope or something, for balance and stuff. All that stuff in there. I forget what they call that thing. But it balances the plane and, keeps it, stable. And when they lose control, they can't get it back.
Right. And interestingly enough, they are now starting to talk about that magnetic pole shift just in different publications. Of course, mainstream media, like meaning your local news and World News Tonight now, have yet to do featured stories on it, but other publications are starting to come out and talk about the magnetic pole shift. And it is, of course, they're not saying this, but it is really moving fast, family.
That's what they say.
It's moving very, very fast. Now, Brother Kalai had a show Monday, and he was going through his family's pictures, his people that send pictures in. And this one sister, y'all, she sent in a picture that blew my wig totally back. She sent in a picture, and I don't know what area she was from, but it was of this red orb, and the orb was sitting so low that it was like sitting among the trees, and you saw like these marks in the orb, and all in the trees you saw these entities, and then you saw an entity clasping onto the orb, and it looked like it was trying to climb into the orb. And so based on those initial marks on the orb, I'm thinking that that entity was crawling across this red orb and trying to get into the orb. Now, this is a picture that this lady caught just by snapping her camera. And then in the background, in the skyline, you can see like the red hue, and then you can see the purple hue. That picture just really, 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 really blew all of us away. So, you know, we still have the astrological events going on. Danny of Daytona posted another pic of him catching the little two suns up in the sky. So this stuff is really, really jumping off, and it's moving extremely fast. Okay, so, but no, great point, sis. Great points. Brother Sean, did you have,
Maybe the question about them planes should be, who was on them? Not, I don't think that it's anything in particular wrong with the design.
No.
Or about the thing about it being updated or this, that, or the other. It's a matter of who was on those planes.
I agree. That's another.
Yeah. Yep, that's another point. That's another point.
Cover up. It's a cover up for those who was in it to make it look like everybody's doing it.
Or maybe people were being executed.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying. That's why I say it's a matter of who was on the plane.
That makes
people
sense.
People being taken out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, brother. They can't run their MF mouth. Yeah, and folks have to be sacrificed. That's a great point you brought up, because I thought about that as we see these different scandals, quote, quote, come out among the, quote, quote, rich. And I thought of two things. Number one, it's either a psyops/ritual. So meaning the public is starting to wake up and they're restless. So it's like right before Rome fell back in the day, people finally caught up to the perpetual slavery, debt-ridden system that they were put under. So they like, no, to hell with all of this. Okay, so what do those particular bloodlines do? They start sacrificing their own in order to shield the originals. So that's a very, very good point, Brother Sean. It very well could be cleanup time among their own. Because if you pay attention to all of these, quote, quote, scandals that they're showing in the media over and over and over again, it's either a psyops, meaning they really ain't going to do nothing to them people. Just they're going to put the stories out there to make it seem like they're going to do something to the people, but behind the scenes, the people just will not be in the public view anymore. And or it's just the simple fact that they needed to be the one to be the patsy, the sacrificial lamb, to, quote, quote, save the institution. So that's a very good point, Brother Sean. But the good part about this is it don't matter what schemes and trick they try to do, because, you know, they could stand outside and tell Mother Earth that on who supposedly, allegedly did what on when, on what date. That's what they can do. As that plasma shoots across the sky and out of that ground and tased them in the ass. So that's what they can explain all of that. Because she will do the ultimate cleanup. She is the final decision maker. But I'm sorry, Brother Sean, go ahead.
But you ain't hearing nothing about the judges siding with Cosby, the Supreme Court judges. I'm reckoning it's only a matter of time before Cosby is let out. Because all these lawsuits being denied, ain't nobody won, not one lawsuit against him. Ain't none of them girl boys getting nothing. Boy, girls, whatever the hell they
Right, whatever the case may be, right.
Right. They ain't getting nothing. And they know that there was a kangaroo court he went through. So they ain't saying nothing in the media about that. But what they offer up is these two white women that don't nobody really give a fuck about, Little House or whatever the fuck she was on. Don't nobody give a fuck about her kids. I mean, I get the whole thing about the college thing, but you give us these two ratchet bitches, but then you say there's other CEOs and this, that, and other involved, but you ain't gonna say they name. But you give us these two motherfucking crumbs that ain't worth shit.
Right.
So. Right. But most people gonna be happy about that.
Right. And that's why I totally agree with you on that, Brother Sean, that it's a smokescreen in that perspective that they're never going to really give up the juicy names that, is really going to make a deep impact. So they're the
going to pay a fine. They're going to pay a fine, and you ain't going to hear nothing else about this. Who probably going to catch it the worst is the coaches at the college.
That was taking the payoff. Yep.
Right. And I wonder how many of them is melanated.
I don't know.
I'm just
know.
Saying though, because somehow, even if they call themselves sacrifices some of their own, along the way, it's going to be more melanated people sacrifice.
Absolutely.
Because they put them in fall guy positions.
Right, and isn't it a part of that whole secret society, those different organizations that these people join? When your number is up or it's time for you to play a certain role, it is what it is. You got to get in position and play that particular role. Because, that particular organization, along with the others in the inner circle, put those people in power or gave them their particular star, fame, or because the people that we see commonly that we think are the ballers, they really ain't shit in comparison to who put them on, and the people who put them on really ain't shit compared to tied back to the bloodlines that run everything. So like we told you all before, it's a circle within a circle within a circle within a circle. And that middle dot in the middle is the group that controls all of those circles. And they have gatekeepers on each one of those circles. And the people that you see in the public eye that you think are so powerful, they are the ones furthest from the inner circle. So they're always going to be the ones that are sacrificed first. Always. Because the goal is always to protect inner circle.
Hey, I want to ask a question. Brother Sean.
Sis, you sound real far away.
Am I far away?
Yeah, I
You
mean, like
sound
real
muffled.
far away.
Oh, maybe you can water drops on the phone. Let me get another one. I have a lot of phones around here.
Okay.
How about?
Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good now. You was like muffled and all far away. Okay, we can hear you now.
You know, I got a habit of dropping water on the phone. But I want to ask. Yeah, sorry. I want to ask you a question. Is that why these ladies are up in arm about the judge saying that you're telling a woman she was too ugly to rape?
I only seen that briefly. I didn't really follow it.
They getting tired of that. What I'm waiting to see though, is if they prosecute them white women for lying and fraud, the way that they doing the gay boy.
Right, but that's the psyops, though, Brother Sean. That's the psyops because it's going to put the the black or melanated, and he's gay, openly gay, has always been openly gay. They gonna put his lie. That's the Jesse Smollett. They gonna put his lie up against what Becky them, because now it's the term the white women always start some motherfucking controversy. That's the nickname that the internet has given them. Becky are gonna put the Becky and them lies and schemes up against what happens to Jesse, and that's why I say that it's still all a psyops, and they're playing on the populist emotions, still trying to pull that race card. Still trying to pull that race card.
Exactly.
These people that are in the public eye, they are not who you think they are. They're not.
No.
And some of them
Kelly can't pay his
have
child
some
support
very powerful connections.
Yeah. That's true. Like the Hiltons and all that kind of stuff.
So people just need to pay attention to not what they're telling you it's about, of the messaging that they're putting with it, and use common sense. It is a psyops. They have been trying to get a racial war to jump off for quite some time now.
Yeah, that's a war.
It's not going to work, but that's what they have been trying to do.
But it's all Hollywood. It's all Hollywood.
It is.
It's all a play, and
it's all theater. Yep.
And for everybody that's scared of Satan and think about Satanists and Luciferians and all this type of stuff, but you watch movies and you're in love with these celebrities.
On the regular.
Aleister Crowley is the one who came up with the whole concept of Hollywood and the magic that's being played on people with the movies.
Yep.
And the people you love, you say it's entertainment. Oh, she's such a good actress. Oh, they're so lovely. They're demons.
Yep.
Remember, you're scared of that demon. They're demons. But you love that demon.
Right.
So it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. As they're, giving shout out to their particular gods, the hand symbols, I'd be like, damn, people ain't catching none of this. So much symbology in these television programs. It's just, I'm like, wow. And they've gotten so bold with the whole Baphomet concept. It just blows my mind. It just absolutely blows my mind, and people still not catching it. They're still not making the connections.
You got to check out Doomsday Squad. It's like it's a spinoff of Teen Titans, but it's like it around with with all this comic book stuff that's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
But on there, they on some serious metaphysical shit on there.
Mm.
Dark magic. They had the Baphomet on the show. And the
That's
Baphomet,
about right.
no, but the Baphomet was a horse. It was a horse head, a spiritual horse head, and it gave them some information. I mean, you just got to see it the way that they conjure and stuff, and I'm telling you, you would think that the writer was listening to the show.
Interesting. So, yeah, family, pay attention. And, it's interesting because I know we've talked about the Baphomet several times on the show. We told you how, why the particular, these secret societies and what they're calling Hollywood is using that particular concept because they call themselves mastering duality. So meaning, mastering the feminine and the masculine as one. Okay, so that's why you have all of this bringing up of the sexuality being put front and center. And we've talked about this several times. So meaning the transgenderism, as well as the gay and the lesbian, all of that, especially with the transgenderism, that is directly Baphomet. That is directly the Baphomet concept. Now, interestingly enough, I sat there and thought about it from a biological perspective, and I said, wow, people that get deep into those particular secret societies and they take on the form of transgenderism, not because that's how they feel inside, so meaning, that's the way that they are attracted to the same sex as them and, they want to be feminine, whatever the case, but because they are doing it for the sake of being in the secret society, what they're not realizing is that they are being conned, because as a divine being, you're already both. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go do you some research on the biology on how a embryo, zygote, all of that is formed, and how you already have both sexes in you. Shit, stand in front of the mirror. We all still had the same thing. Some is just bigger than others. It's all the same thing. So you're already both. But in this physical body, you are supposed to be mastering self. So that means you don't need to physically change self for the sake of fitting in any group or for the sake of honoring any entity or deity outside of self. So although you may think that you are getting all of this power in this particular realm, you have essentially given the true essence, the most valuable of you, your soul, over to these entities. Now, Brother Sean dropped a video on me. Ooh, y'all, let me tell you something, y'all, honey, child. We're going to deal with it in a later show, but it is so powerful. If you all want to listen to it ahead of time, I would highly recommend it. It's off the YouTube channel called Lance Scurry. Lance, Scury, and the name of it is The Black Intergalactical Slave Trade. And this sister totally lays it out on those spiritual planes on how the whole slavery system is being played out from an energy, soul, essence perspective. Because at the end of the day, we always tell you that things move in the spiritual world first before they manifest over into the physical. So we're going to get into that in one of the upcoming shows we're going to do. But it was such a powerful message that if you want to take a look at it, listen to it beforehand, I highly, highly encourage it. The YouTube channel is Lance Scurry, LanceScury, and the name of the video is The Black Intergalactic Slave Change by Renita Jones. She really knocked it out the park. Folks need to really, really be focused on your soul and mastering self. Because bottom line is you are in control of your own story, of your own destiny. And nobody's going to tap you on the shoulder and hold your hand through your journey. As a matter of fact, you have a lot of parasites in this realm that don't have what you have. And they're looking to attach themselves to you to cipher energy. And that's what this whole thing has been about in the physical world. When we go through these different things about colonization, debt slavery, etc., it all boils down to different entities who are nothing but energy vampires, cannot raise up to higher realms, so they have to attach on to other entities for energy. But they use all of the tricks of illusion to keep you focused on the physical and focus on things outside of self. And now they're really, really ramping it up because we are switching into higher dimensions. And you have the opportunity to break outside of the matrix. And that's going to be on a physical perspective. You always had that ability to do it on the spiritual perspective. So they're really going to be putting distractions before you. They're really going to be putting all of these different things before you to try to get you to sign back into an agreement for another cycle right along with them. But they're going to put it in the perspective of being the good guy, being the savior. But in essence, you are signing up another spiritual contract to go through another cycle in a lower dimensional realm. So it is up to you whether or not your soul has fulfilled your particular spiritual contract to move on from the lower dimensions and this fuck shit. And a lot are not ready. A lot are not ready, and that's fine. They will repeat another cycle. But if your soul is truly, truly tired, then you're really going to stay focused, stay grounded, and master self. Do not depend on self. If you just have to worship something, worship nature. So, sorry.
But what people have to realize, this is the end game.
Yeah.
It's do or die. They will perish if they don't feed. If they continue to feed, you're going to perish. It's that simple. Everything is on the line. Now, I don't know what y'all think we be talking about when we talk about as It's for your soul. Ain't no reset button on that. They playing for keeps.
Yeah.
They know they got to go. And they trying to take as many with them as they can. Period. Point blank. They don't care what they have to do. They'll offer you any and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you're the one weak enough to give in to the flesh. You're still thinking about pleasing your flesh.
Right.
You're thinking about switching positions. Feel the system.
Right.
The fact
Still
that you have to work. Right. The fact that you work, the fact that any of us work, that's slavery.
It is.
The slave game, it was told backwards, it was told sideways, and a lot of it was invented.
Yep.
People want to talk about Black Wall Street. That didn't happen out of slavery.
Nope.
The slave game back then, as they said, was economic.
Mm-hmm.
Slave game today is economic.
Yep.
Just like people working now, people were working back then.
Yep.
War started.
Mm-hmm.
The only war about slavery that took place was people beginning to realize that they were slaves for working in the first goddamn place.
Right.
And now they got people so screwed up, you actually want to fight to work. I have the right to work, damn it! I want to be a slave. I want to be a good slave. I'll teach my children to be good slaves. I'll send them to the best schools to be thoroughly indoctrinated. So I'll call that being a good citizen.
Yeah, you did a very good impression there, Brother Sean. You're right. Right, brother.
I just want them to citizen their ass someplace else.
I know that's
right.
That's
all I want.
I know that's right. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, sis.
No, I was just going to add on to what you said, because it's the same debt slavery system that's been on record shit since they've been writing shit.
Exactly.
It's the same system. They just keep remixing the shit.
The religion is that same system.
It's the same thing.
Because the Bible tells you you're supposed to go to work. Not only is you supposed to give Caesar what he's due, but then, damn it, you're supposed to come to church and get God his 10%.
Right.
I'm still waiting on the nigga to come pick it up or see who he's seeing. I mean, I'd like to know what he do with it.
Right. Right. Why you need my scratch? You the Lord. So really, what are you, Lord?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Very, very good point. Okay, family. So now is the reveal time. So everyone that's grew up in the Christian church, or rather you're Christian or not, now's the time to dust off your revelations. Y'all should know what we're talking about when we're talking about harvesting. You should know what we're talking about when we say come out of her. You should know what we're talking about. Okay, so I keep telling y'all that Bible is a book of spells. So you should be to the point where you have decoded it. We're at that time. We're at that age. They laid out for you in the Bible those astronomical events. So the choice is truly, truly yours. Okay, so great drop, sis and brother. Okay, y'all. So as usual, in the news of space, they dropping all of this other stuff that's not being talked about. So this might have was this today? I thought I looked at this yesterday. Okay, it's saying today, but this is off of this website Gizmodo, but this is a space article. Yeah, I think this came off of space.com. But anyway, Mercury, not Venus, is the closest planet to Earth. Huh? Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, you gonna sit up and tell us that the moon is inside of Earth's atmosphere. Y'all done miscalculated that. But supposedly and allegedly, you went to the moon back up into the 60s. So in order to do that, you would have had to calculate distance on how to get there. But now, some 50-something years later, that was a miscalculation too. So now, this particular week, you're going to bring out that Mercury, not Venus, is the closest planet to Earth. Oh, okay then. So before I start this article, there have been several people in the spiritual community side. And the one brother, Kenny, I can't think of his last name right now, out of Britain, that talks about the different layers outside of planet Earth. Instead of it being planets, they're like regions. Okay, so other regions past the pole. Okay, so meaning, like Mars, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, etc., etc. Those are different regions or different realms with other different beings on them. Okay, and we're saying that like the beings like the Anunnaki, and you have the set of beings that they're calling the Greys and the Palladians. They come from these different districts. Now, Martin Kenny, that's the brother's name, Martin Kenny. Okay, so Martin Kenny was saying, when I saw this article, I'm like, shit. He said that Mercury was closer. And if I'm not mistaken, he was linking Mercury as being inside the atmosphere almost, and I don't want to misquote him, but I think he was saying that Mercury was equivalent like to the black sun almost. Okay, so making a lot of powerful vibrational moves that heavily influences our particular realm on an energy perspective, which would make sense, and it is also the heavy influencer of the different ages as we move to different ages, which is really just a fancy way of saying different energy levels. So meaning when I say ages, so nobody gets confused on it. So what I'm saying is going from a lower vibrational realm like the Dark Ages to a middle ground realm, the Silver Age, because I think it's like the bronze, silver, and then gold. And gold meaning the highest realm. So with that said, that's what Martin Kinney said, and somebody else said it too. I just cannot think of who said that. All right, so now here they come with this crap. Mercury, not Venus, is the closest planet to Earth. A team of scientists just demonstrated something that might shock you. Mercury, not Venus, is the closest planet to Earth on average. And also, that's what I was trying to say. And think about Mercury influencing the different energies as it supposedly passes across different other planetary bodies. Okay, so here we go. A team of scientists just demonstrated something that might shock you. Mercury, not Venus, is the closest planet to Earth on average. The researchers presented their results this week in an article in the magazine Physics Today. They explained that our method of calculating which planet is the closest oversimplifies the matter. But that's not all. Further, Mercury is the closest neighbor on average to each of the other 7 planets in the solar system, they write. Wait, what? Our misconceptions about how close the planets are to one another comes from the way we usually estimate the distance to the other planets. Normally, we calculate the average distance from the planet to the sun. The Earth's average distance is 1 astronomical unit, while Venus is around 0.72 astronomical unit. If you subtract one from the other, you calculate the average distance from Earth to Venus as 0.28 astrological unit, the smallest distance for any pair of planets. But a trio of researchers realized that this isn't an accurate way to calculate the distance to planets. After all, Earth spends just as much time on the opposite side of its orbit from Venus, placing it 1.72 astrological units away. One must instead average the distance between every point along one planet orbit and every point along the other planet's orbit. The researchers ran a simulation based on 2 assumptions: that the planets' orbits were approximately circular and that their orbits weren't at an angle relative to one another. It sort of makes sense if you were getting seats to a football game than one of the end zones in order to see the most action, even if occasionally be much closer to the players from the end zone. That's sort of what's going on here. Okay, so I don't understand football, so I don't know what the hell they talking about. So maybe those of you that follow that game know what the hell they talking about. Anyhow, indeed, they found that Mercury was the planet closest to Earth for the most time on average and to every other solar system planet. Pluto's inclined and eccentric orbit does not work with their assumptions, but it's not a planet anyway, as defined by the International Astrological Union. So the author goes, please do not email me about this. You can read about the mathematical nitty-gritty at Physics Today or watch an explainer on the math on YouTube. But provided there are no glaring errors in the analysis, I think it's time we say bye to Venus and welcome our new closest neighbor, the best planet, Mercury. Okay, so again, that is off of this site called gizmodo.com, but I think they got it from space.com. It's Mercury, not Venus, is the closest planet to Earth. All right, so all I want to say about that is we knew they was lying through their damn teeth about what they have taught in school in regards to what they're calling planets in the solar system. We know they lying through their damn teeth. So now they're coming out, although they didn't indoctrinated the planet for a couple of 100 years now. Now all of a sudden they coming out with these earth-shattering, no pun intended, miscalculations and no, this supposed to be there. Yeah, right. So I'll pause in case y'all want to put something on it.
Yeah. They're getting the measurements. How? I mean, I know what he said, but
it didn't make sense to me.
I'm just
right.
So, I guess with China chilling on the dark side of the moon now, able to send back more accurate data. Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead, brother.
We know that these are physical bodies to begin with.
Right.
Secondly, according to them, we on a big ball traveling through space at thousands of miles per hour.
Right.
Sun and the moon
according
traveling
to them.
Sun and the moon traveling even faster because it could take a circle of us.
Right.
And how fast is these other planets moving for them to be able to calculate all this? But they got shit on Mars.
Right.
They got shit on Jupiter.
Right. So how they get it up there if your calculations is off? Right. True.
Yeah, and then what about that one thing they say that's like about 4-5 other solar systems over? It just been kicking it undisturbed.
Right.
For over 30 years, just kicking it.
Right.
But they can't get through the Van Allen belt. Oh, that's with people, but they ain't got the technology for people to do it, but they got technology that's going to go in other solar systems and function properly. And they've never been in those other solar systems to
Right. And, by the way, they admit that those pictures that they send from space, so meaning, when they showing us these distant, supposedly and allegedly galaxies, they admitted that they're using data. So those pictures are being done by graphic designers. And it's based on data that supposedly they're getting from the telescope, and then they take the data and composite the pictures.
Artistic.
Yeah.
They told us 2 years ago. I think it was just 2 years ago. Dr. Phil was talking that we were going to go through the galaxy, the rift of what do they call that thing?
The Milky Way. Milky Way. Yes.
Google, when they turn on my computer, it's so close. They take pictures. You can take pictures from the highway. I feel
right.
They done told us all these lies. It's gonna take 300,000 years before we get through that rift. I said, well, I don't have to worry about that, do I? And here we are, right at it.
Right. You can look up if you're not being chemtrailed to death.
Right. If you're not being
if you can see it, what a beautiful experience. But where you can see it just as plain. Absolutely.
Yes. It's really weird how they distorted all the sciences. And what for? I mean, it's just to lie or what? I mean, there has to be a motive for them camouflaging everything. What is it? To control us in this low dimension gonna be looking at all that stupid stuff, or them Kardashians going so dark. They, I'm like, ooh, they stay in them tanning booths a long time. Or somebody glowing so brown, and they were white a couple of days ago. So it's like, what the heck? Is that important to people? Really, is it? Is it? No. But that's what they do, is distractions for something. And one of these days we're going to figure it out,
Brother Sean, did you have something you wanted to say before I move to the last story, and then we're going to get back into tonight's topic? Uh-oh. Did he get jumped off?
Yeah, I'm here. No, I'm here.
Okay.
The only thing that they're trying to distract us from is ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want you to concentrate on you. They don't want you to put all of that energy into you. You with you all day, every day. Ain't no reason for you not to know better.
Right. Because if you don't believe the religion thing, so meaning if you figured out that the religion thing is a control issue, then we're going to give you the alien space thing. So it's always something to focus on outside of self, that something is going to come and save you instead of you being your own savior. And not saying that these entities and beings do not exist outside of the realm. But at the end of the day, they're no better than you. No better nor powerful than you. But if people think that, to me, that's equivalent to waiting on still another sky daddy. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Sean.
But those are one and the same sky daddies. That's who those religions are talking about. Those demiurges.
Yep.
And they bloodline.
Yep.
That everybody wants to claim. Everybody wants to be the demiurges. They want to be the fallen ones. The
fallen ones. Yep. Yep, absolutely. That's why I highly recommend, if you want to listen to it before we preview it on the show, that sister on that video, the Black Intergalactic Slave Trade, she broke that shit all the way down. She broke it down. It's stuff that we've been talking about for years, but I really like how she put that together, because she'll go into that. About what you're setting yourself up for when you worship something outside of self.
Oh, and for those that still want to be African, it's a Nigerian sister. Y'all don't have to worry. She's not Aboriginal, well, at least not to hear.
Right.
At least she knows where she's from.
Mm-hmm. And she broke that shit all the way down. And she was specifically speaking to her people. But it definitely applies across the board. But shout out to her. She was definitely bringing in that particular drop. Okay, family. So the last one I'm going to share, and I'm just sharing this so we can keep track of how behind the scenes and all these other publications that the majority of the populace do not read. They're dropping all of this stuff that we've been talking about in the quote-unquote spiritual community. But we the crazy ones. When we've been telling you all for years the poles are going to flip and reverse. We've been saying this shit for years. The master teachers now been saying that shit for years, that the poles are going to flip. We're going to have multiple suns in the sky. Shout out to Dr. Dilbert Blair. He been saying that shit for years before he transitioned. And he told us when the sun, the additional sun came into our particular atmosphere. He said it for years. Okay, so here we go. And we've been talking about these different cycles. Okay, so meaning these astrological cycles that happen and how they line up to events that happen on Mama Earth. Okay, but we was the crazy ones. Oh, okay then. So this is off of Live Science. Ooh, and I need to send this to somebody too. Anyway, it's called Ice Samples Reveal a Massive Sunstorm Hit Earth in Ancient Times, and Could It Happen Again? Now, this was March 11th that they dropped this. Okay. And I'm reading this because check out the years, how far back they went. A gigantic solar storm hit Earth about 2,600 years ago. One about 10 times stronger than any solar storm recorded in the modern day, a new study finds. Okay, but now these the same people that can't calculate Earth's atmosphere, the distance of the moon, the distance of the planets, and all of that. But yet, you can talk about astronomical cycles. Oh, okay then. Okay, so they always tell on themselves. They know this stuff, but they want to drop it when they feel like dropping it and disclosing it, and then they still not all the way truthful when they drop and disclose it, okay? So when you hear that 2,600, 26,000, all of that, they're speaking on astrological cycles. All right, so here we go. These findings suggest that such explosions recur regularly in Earth's history and could wreak havoc if they were to hit now, given how dependent the world has become on electricity. The sun can bombard Earth with explosions of highly energetic particles known as solar proton events. These proton storms can endanger people and electronics both in space and in the air. Okay, so before I forget, there is a video off MB333 dropped a couple of days ago, and one of his subscribers sent in to him a video where she's filming these particles, and they look like plasma electric in nature, just flying around, lighting up, not lighting up, lighting up, not lighting up. Okay, filmed it plain as day. That was up in Canada. All right, so now they sitting up here talking about some proton storms. Oh, okay then. All right, so in addition, when proton storm hits Earth magnetic sphere, the shell of electronically charged particles, it is trapped by Earth's magnetic field. When the solar storm causes a disturbance in our planet's magnetosphere, it's called geomagnetic storm, which can wreak devastation on power grids across the planet. For example, in 1989, a solar outburst blacked out the entire Canadian province of Quebec within seconds, damaging transformers as far away as New Jersey and nearly shutting down the U.S. power grids from the mid-Atlantic through the Pacific Northwest. So now I'm going to pause just really quick. What have people been recording lately with the sky flashing blue and purple and transformers and shit being lit up and electrical lines being lit up? I'll wait. they're calling it geomagnetic storms, but they're really plasma events. That's what they're hiding from the public. They're using code words, magnetic storm, okay, and trying to prep you for when they have no choice but to break out and tell you what's going on, because they're going to get more powerful and more frequent, okay? But the YouTube community are already filming these events. They're showing you where the sky is lighting up. Shit, Brother Sean had one right by him where plasma had hit a doggone what's the face transformer in his area. Okay. So it goes, scientists have analyzed proton storms for less than a century. As such, they may not have good estimates of how often extreme solar eruptions happen or how powerful they can actually get. They're lying. They know exactly what's going on. Today, we have a lot of infrastructure that could be badly damaged, and we travel in air and space where we are much more exposed to high energy radiation. Okay? Now, I was surprised that they even, mentioned radiation, because they definitely been shying against that, because we do know, because there's folks on YouTube that have been measuring the radiation and how they're putting it close to the ground. The radiation levels are rising up from the ground as well as in the air. Okay, and that is why a lot of people, especially Caucasian people that do not have a highly melanated skin, are getting those blisters and stuff on their skin, okay? Because they won't tell the truth of what's really going on. All right, so it's saying we travel in air and space where we are much more exposed to high energy radiation. Senior study author Raymond Mulcher, an environmental physicist at Lund University in Sweden, told Live Science. The so-called Carrington event of 1859 may have released about 10 times more energy than the one behind the Quebec blackout in 1989, making it the most powerful known geomagnetic storm, according to a 2013 study from Lloyd's of London. Okay, so now that was in 1859, family. 1859, they're saying that it released energy 10 times more than 1989 blackout. Okay, so now I want people to think and go back to what was happening during those 1800 time periods, specifically in the Americas, as the Europeans were, and I'm speaking of the melanated black nobility, Europeans, that bloodline was coming over to the Americas, marking territory, colonizing, tearing up the landscape, cutting down trees, digging up resources, and putting the indigenous people on the land into slavery, i.e. work. So I want you to all keep in mind that everything is connected. So it goes, worse yet, the world has become far more dependent on electricity since the Carrington event. Now, let's be clear, family. In 1859, they had electricity. Don't let them fool you. They had it. Okay? Now, I do have to give credit where credit is due. The mud flood community brought that forward. They had electricity. It just wasn't the way it really was still the way it is today. They were still pulling it out of the air with the different energy grid towers and the transformers. They had them placed in different locations. They had star forts that set right on the edge of bodies of water to conduct those magnetic energy waves to provide what we're calling electricity. So, yeah, they had it back then, okay? All right, so it's saying, worse yet, the world has become far more dependent on electricity since the Carrington event, and if a similarly powerful geomagnetic storm were to hit now, power outages might last weeks, months, or even years as utilities struggle to replace key parts of the power grid, the 2013 study found. Okay, so I'm going to let y'all know something. We've talked about this before, and mark my words. This whole 5G thing, I am telling you all. Now, they put out in the quote conspiracy community that it's to kill people. No, it is not. They have 5G to be able to pull the new frequencies, pull the new electromagnetic frequency waves to still harvest energy. Don't let them fool you. They have all this time have been using that same electromagnetic technology that they're saying that Tesla invented. He didn't invent it. It's the same doggone technology. So as Mother Earth upgrades herself and the energy is getting higher, her magnetic energy gets higher, they must upgrade their equipment as well. So that's what that 5G is about. Don't let them fool you. So if there are going to be blackouts, that's because they want it to be blacked out. But I can guarantee you this. Those particular folks that set up these programs, they're not going to be in motherfucking blackout. I can promise you that. And those that are smart enough and enter and understand this particular technology and know how to set up their own grid, they ain't going to be blacked out either. Because they're going to enter and understand the concept of pulling the energy from the air. All right. Now, researchers have found radioactive atoms trapped within ice in Greenland. I can't make this shit up, y'all. I can't make it up. Now, researchers have found radioactive atoms trapped within ice in Greenland that suggest an enormous proton storm struck Earth in about 660 BC, one that might dwarf the Carrington event. Okay, so now you're going to sit up here and try to motherfucking tell me that y'all know back in 660 BC that this radioactive atom is trapped over in Greenland, which is right by the Arctic. That's what you're going to try to convince me, that this radioactive energy is there. No, boo-boo. It's always been there. Because that Arctic is the center where that black sun is, that pulses out that magnetic energy that flows through the grounds, and the crystals and the metals serve as the conductors that transfers that energy across Mother Earth, and the ley lines that she has set up are also served as transformers. Okay? So they always tell on themselves, but you have to read behind what they're saying. Previous research found that extreme proton storms can generate radioactive atoms beryllium-10, chlorine 36, and carbon 14 in the atmosphere. I told y'all it was all atmosphere. Now, they may be using some bullshit-ass elements, but I'm telling you, it's all in the atmosphere and in the ground. Because they're not saying that in the article, but it's in the ground also. All right. Evidence of such events is detectable in tree rings. Oh, really now? And ice cores, potentially giving scientists a way to investigate ancient solar activity. The science examined ice from 2 core samples taken from Greenland. They noted a spike of radioactive beryllium-10 and chlorine 36 about, I cannot make this shit up, y'all, 2,610 years ago. Okay, that's a cycle, family. That's a mini cycle. This matches prior work examining tree rings that suggest a spike of carbon-14 about the same time. Okay, it says previous research detected 2 other ancient proton storms in a similar manner. One happened about AD 993 to 994. The other about AD 774, 775. The latter is the largest solar eruption known to date. Regarding number of high energy protons, the 660 BC and the AD 774 to 775 events are 10 times larger than the strongest proton storm seen in modern day, which occurred in 1956. Mueller said. The AD 993 to 994 event was smaller than the other 2 ancient storms by about a factor of 2 to 3, he added. It remains unclear how these ancient proton storms compare with the Carrington event, since estimates of the number of protons from the Carrington event are very uncertain. Mueller said. However, if these ancient solar outbursts were connected with a geomagnetic storm, I would assume that they would exceed the worst-case scenarios that are often based on Carrington-type events, he noted. Although more research is needed to see how much damage such eruptions might inflict, this work suggests these enormous events are a reoccurring feature of the sun. And now we have 3 big events during the past 3,000 years, Mueller said. There might be more that we have not yet discovered. We need to search systematically for these events in the environmental archives to get a good idea about the statistics, that is, the risk for such events, and also smaller events, Mueller added. The challenge will be to find the smaller ones that probably still exceeds anything measured in recent decades. Okay, so again, this was off of Live Science. It came out March 11th, and the name of the article is Ice Samples Reveal a Massive Sunstorm Hit Earth in Ancient Times, and Could It Happen Again? So I'll pause in case somebody want to put something on it. If not, we'll move, right into tonight's topic.
I just want to make an observation. You know, a lot of the archaeological digs for the, for the old Mayans and Aztecs and so forth, they lived underground. They had mass cities underground with rivers glowing through, you know. Oh, excuse me.
No, sweetheart.
So they may have known, obviously they did, that living on top of the earth is not a good place to live. And that you could come out sometime, but don't come out and stay out. Because if you stay in that sun, you're going to get the effects of that sun really And they're seeing it. A lot of people are seeing it. I look at people's faces, and a lot of them have all those spots on their faces now because
the sunspots.
Yeah, this radiation is off the charts. It's really doing people. The sun lovers, particularly, they really having trouble, and they don't even know it because you can't really see it sometimes until it's too late. But our ancestors had underground cities. Even in Utah, I think it is, they had underground caves. Caves, big old rock caves underneath where there were cities underneath there. And so they've taken the liberty of burying all that stuff so nobody can use it. But I'm sure it would be very beneficial to stay out of the sun when those sunspots and the solar maximums or minimums happen. And, it's dangerous for your electricity. And I don't know about your computers, but my computer been tripping all week.
Okay, so I thought it was just me. Child, honey, child,
No.
let me tell you, my shit been off the hook all week. I still have one that's down.
Yeah, they've been tripping. You hear noises all over the place. I hear people talking on the phone. I'm like, wait a minute. It's because everything is being crossed or something. The electricity surges or whatever they're trying to control. They're doing a fair job of it, but, it's still happening.
Now, it's interesting that you bring up about some of the ancestors having the caves underground. I have to go back to, I want to say, I'm pretty sure Brother Phil Valentine said that the ancient Egyptians used to, that's why they wore a lot of copper and gold. And it was in one of his lectures, and he said that that they knew when to get the hell on when these electromagnetic plasma events, because they're calling them electricity, but let's get accurate. Electromagnetic plasma events happen. Now, I want people to listen to me very, very closely. Very closely. Because everything is going through an upgrade. Okay? From a vibratory perspective, as well as physically, we will be getting upgraded. And it is going to be upgraded. You're being upgraded through these suns and through that radio activity and the magnetic activity. So that is why it is important, why we keep harping on be grounded, be mastering self, go within, connect to Mother Earth. Okay, so now if you are a part of Mother Earth, how's that supposed to impact you? If you are in tune with Mother Earth, how is the electromagnetic pulse supposed to be impacting you? It's not. Those that are highly melanated, you've actually been given a gift because your melanin is a magnet. You are a conductor of energy. You can absorb it and you can put out the energy. Okay? So this time, you're supposed to be getting the upgrades of the frequency. So in other words, you're supposed to be getting, they talking about some motherfucking 5G. You getting beyond 5G if your vibration is in tune with Mother Earth. Because me personally, I don't want to have to live on any type of planet where I got to be up underground. That means my melanated ass ain't supposed to fucking be there.
Exactly.
Okay, so get centered, get grounded, master self, connect with Mother Earth. And you are going to get these messages. You're going to be getting the messages what you're supposed to be eating. You're going to be getting the messages of the multiple suns, plural, moon, plural.
One of the things is the message out there now is copper. And I know I got that message a while ago. I said, copper? See, because we're the copper-colored people, right? So we have to, ground ourselves with copper as well, because that's a conductor, or probably, I wouldn't say much as conductor, but it gets in line with the energy, so it doesn't hurt you as much as it does other people. I think.
Right.
I don't know.
No, you're right. And actually, copper is the main component that they are using still to this day to draw energy out of the atmosphere. Okay? Any of those buildings, and if y'all pay attention, Brother Sean know what I'm talking about, because we went through a lot of cities looking at different pictures, and we know each particular building that they're using as a transformer, and they have the copper inside of these buildings and those antennas sitting up to conduct energy. But what I am telling you people, that it is even beyond you having some copper on you. God damn it, you are the copper. That's what I'm telling you. You are the copper that absorbs the energy of Mother Earth. But you have to be on her frequency, because she's going to clean house. And that's how she's going to do it. So either you in tune, or you can flow and you can pick this energy up, or it is what it is. And I am telling you, the vibration is going to be raised so high, it's even going to be in the food. So even if you are a vegetarian, if you are eating those vegetables, that level of magnetic energy and radiation is in the vegetables as well. So if you're not in tune, it ain't going to be a good thing. You ain't even going to be able to eat properly. You're going to be eating out some motherfucking cans. So that is the message we're trying to convey to people. It is here now in the physical. So, okay, I'm sorry. I'll pause in case somebody wants to put something else on. If not, we'll move into the topic for tonight. And if you want to put something on it, just press *1 to get in the queue. All right, family. So I'm just going to recap. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Sean.
I'm beginning to wonder exactly how many of those cities were originally underground cities. With this whole mud flood thing coming to light, and we know we know conquerors have a habit of building on top of.
Right.
On top of fallen cities.
Right.
So, I mean, considering we've been here billions of years, I mean, how many times has this game played out?
That's what I say. I'm with you on that. I'm 1,000% with you on that.
If we were to dig deeper, how many more cities would we find building?
Exactly. Where she keeps destroying.
Right, because if you go back to Hypocrisy, they were bigger than the giants of Lemuria time. And so forth and so on.
Right.
shrinking.
Yep.
So, I mean, and even talking about those places, we still ain't got back far enough to the trees.
Right, the ancient trees. Indeed.
Yeah, it's, man, we just gonna have to keep a open mind about things, but be definitive about self.
Exactly.
Any outside information, if you should just be using that to trigger a memory within you.
Right.
If it's not able to spark something in you to make it relatable or tangible for you to be able to utilize it, then it's just information.
Mm-hmm.
We have to start doing. But considering it's already been done on the spirit realm,
Yeah, it's
then
already
we got
done.
to wonder, so are we actually just reviewing everything? You know, like after you shoot the movie, you sit back and see the screen.
Well. That is an excellent point.
And if that being the case, what we got to fear or stress about? We already won. We just watching it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
Pretty
but
much.
considering the technology's so good, and we actually wanted to play the characters, which we already were. We relive in the experience, but some of us get stuck in it.
Exactly.
And keep coming back as different
Stuck in
characters.
Yep. Indeed. Very, very powerful.
Oh, wonderful, but it's my last role. So I hope y'all enjoyed this performance, because I ain't fucking with y'all.
Right. This is my last Oscar performance, and whether or not you want to give me an Oscar for this shit or a PTA award, that's on you, goddamn. But I'm with you, brother. Been there, done that. Got the T-shirt. I'm good. So I'm with you. I'll be on another plane, higher vibration, chilling. I'm good. I ain't gonna come check on you, none of that. You better refer back to these motherfucking shows and say that woman was crazy as hell, whatever the case may be. But I'm good.
And don't be trying to summon me or channel me either.
Exactly.
Fuck you up.
Yeah, I'm just gonna ignore you. You ain't gonna get a motherfucking thing from me. Like, oh, you have a call waiting. I'm going to look at that motherfucking screen. Oh, no, they got me all the way fucked up. That's from Earth 3D. Oh, they got me fucked up. That's, what's the call that you show up on your phone and they say that's, damn, what they call them calls that automatically come up on your phone and they know it's like a telemarketer. That's the way my shit gonna be programmed in the spirit realm. Oh, that's Earth. There's your notification. Yep, yeah, you go ahead on and block that shit. I'm good. Okay, let me get brother 832. Peace and love, brother. How are you?
Rhonda! Sandra! My sisters from other vistas!
Peace, brother.
Seven's up.
Demons down!
That's right. Demons down.
My brother from another mother about the Olympus with some black lightning bolts thrown down tonight.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I'm gonna pick that baton up what you just laid down by in the context. I don't know. I came in late. I just got on, to be honest with you.
Okay, no worries.
This admission, this college admission scandal, I'd like to discuss it in a way to peel back the layers of what you were just talking about. Now, I know Sean's automatic back, fuck him. You know, why you getting this discussion about it. But here's what's amazing to me about this thing. Because we're talking about white skin privilege under scrutiny by white skin privilege, investigated by white primary FBI agents, that the same white conservatives are now saying they're corrupt. What were they saying when J. Edgar Hoover ran it for how long? From the 30s to Ronald Reagan?
Yeah.
Wasn't he still the director of FBI under Ronald Reagan's administration?
I think so.
So how corrupt was it then when they was COINTELPRO and our black asses to and fro? You know, I know we could spend time going on with the hypocrisies and the numbers of examples of poor black parents that are in jail for food stamp fraud, for taking the address of a relative so that they can have their child go from a substandard school district to go to one of educational, let's say, improvement. I'm not going to say whether it's quality education, because here's the irony of all this. They keep us pursuing them.
Exactly.
Now, the knowledge that you just shared tonight, when you start talking about these underground societies, these hidden cultures, the Tartarians, the Lemurians, the Atlanteans, whomever, all of these things precede and predate these European Caucasoid individuals who barely may have, I know you said before, Rhonda, maybe you give them 6,000. I don't know if they have a grand. I don't even know if they go far back to the year of our Lord. This is 2019. Who is that? White Jesus? Who they painted in what? When was the Sistine Chapel painted? In the 1500s?
Right. And they probably wasn't looking like that then, but anyhow, anywho.
I mean, we're speculating again. Now, you're going to tell me about some shit a billion years ago, the series Cosmos, you know, with Carl Sagan, billions and billions and billions. You're going to tell me some shit about 100 million years ago and some fucking dinosaurs. You can't tell me about some shit 1,000 years ago. Okay? So now, people like Meghan McCain on The View or Donald Trump Jr., just the hypocrisy of opening his mouth where his daddy bought his way into Wharton. And by the way, I'm getting sick and tired of people saying he went to Wharton Business School. He actually only went to the undergraduate program. He did not attend the so-called premier elite business school. Then again, you'd have to also point out how the first $1 million that he keeps telling everybody that his daddy gave him, you know how old he was when he was given that $1 million? 3.
Oh, 3. Oh, okay then.
I mean, if you want to deal with some facts when you discuss these things, okay? So now, the context of so-called privilege. What is the privilege that we're discussing? And I'm not saying you guys are discussing. I'm saying you're unveiling the black nobility, the series of discussions you've been having. You are peeling back. You remember the old, remember Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, Sean? And the famous scene, I believe, and it's been a long time since I read it when I read it as a child, but even in the movies that Disney likes to portray. You remember the scam that Tom Sawyer did with the children called whitewashing?
Yeah.
Where he convinced other kids to paint the fence white? That was his job to do that.
Go on,
now,
bring it, brother.
Inside this discussion of white privilege, there is an individual, I can't remember his name because I'm going to go back and rewatch this particular YouTube video because it doesn't really matter what his name is. It matters where he's positioned. Okay, this is one of the top hedge fund billionaires on the planet. And he's decrying that people like Elizabeth Warren and Beto O'Rourke and, you know, the usual suspects, the so-called leftist, Democrat, crazy socialists, that, you know, don't talk about the ills of capitalism because, you know, we really can tweak it and work it out and make it better. Okay, so guess who's been busted out in this college admission scandal? Now, he supposedly has set aside hundreds of millions of dollars that's supposed to go and aid poor Black, Hispanic, impoverished communities to get their children to become up to standards, compete, educationally proficient. Then what does this bastard do? Now, here's the amazing thing about these things. Now, let's just think about this for a second again. Look at the logic. The range of money is from $500,000 to one person, $6.5 million. And over $25 million was raised by this one bastard from 2011 to 2018. Are you going to tell me that's the only one, Rhonda?
No, of course not.
Now, isn't American capitalism based on competition?
That's what they say.
Let's say he was the premier scammer. That's compared to who, though? Wouldn't you say there would be some white that's not as successful?
Agreed.
But doing the same shit. Okay? Now, excuse me. Michelle Barack Obama, if he had not written his book before going into the White House, would have still been in debt. I think somewhere in the neighborhood was it like $2 million in student loans or something like that. Or Sean, or y'all can help me with that. Okay, the one woman and her character's name, by the way, was Aunt Becky.
Right.
Okay, in Full House. $500,000.
Okay.
$500,000. That's an average of $100,000. Doesn't that cover a law school degree? A medical degree for a doctor?
I thought it was awfully high.
But I'll just say, I know it could be more than that. I mean, just books and tuitions, if you will. We're not even talking about housing and boarding or whatever. But $500,000 would cover putting one impoverished child. It's not about whether they're black, brown, yellow, polka dot, whatever. These are supposed, and I'm going to be very accurate here because they're not American. There's only one true American national, aboriginal, autochthonous individual and population. We know who that is. We do. We know who that is. But people we're talking about are United States citizens. That's why I keep sharing with you about the quote from the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Because these citizens are United States citizens. They are not Americans. Okay? So these citizens' children, how many of them could have been put into a profession that would elevate them, their family, and many of them still in 2019 are the first time going to college. We're not talking about graduating.
Right.
And these people, not only gaming the system, can afford to send their child anywhere.
Right.
But now they are perpetuating this privileged, prestigious, exclusive club of the perennials, Ivy League, the Harvards, the Yales, the Cornells, the Princetons, etc., to achieve what? Now, we don't want to just get bogged down into the simplistic response of white supremacy.
It's
really based on what? What makes it valuable? You follow what I'm getting at here?
Right.
What makes it valuable? Now, do any of these institutions know the actual truth? Would any of them be sharing the knowledge that you shared in the last 7 to 8 weeks?
Hell to the no.
So what is that? You know what Dane says about scholarship, right? Dane Calloway? Scholarship is just a student, doesn't matter what your age is, a student being taught something and then continuing to pursue what they've been taught, not challenge what one has been taught. So what is it that we're actually pursuing with these so-called institutions?
Indoctrination. Guys under status.
With what price tag on it? Now, we have just been told the value of the pinnacle of the system ranges from $500,000 to $6.5 million. What is the actual tuition cost? Somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe between $50,000 to $100,000.
Which is ridiculous.
No, but you get what I'm pointing out here now. What are we peeling back when we start looking at then what is this education system based on? Now, again, remember, this is not just the individual children that the students that are now currently enrolled. These are the professors, the teachers, the administrators, the superintendents, the school district. We're talking about everyone throughout society are impressed with this elitism.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, this is what's really amazing to me about sitting back and watching all this. At the end of the day, all of it's a lie, all of it's a fraud, all of it's based on white Christianity, white Jesus. All of it is based on white supremacy, and the European is the be-all, the end-all of civilization. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm getting at? And now you are doing certain things, and I've seen a number of videos just seem to populate up out of nowhere from my just listening to the playback. Like I had a whiteboard came, some with Russian accent, showing these giant books about the Tartarians.
Yeah.
You see that YouTube video?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not saying it's not necessary to give you credit. You don't need to take credit. It's just interesting to me to see how stuff is bubbling up, because I'll wrap up with this. Is a very simple biblical phrase that says, truth crushed to earth will rise. Now, who is spending their entire existence on the entire planet to crush whom? And why in the hell are they on my doorstep, holding me in contempt, lying about who I am, causing me identity crisis, stealing my land, and then trying to tell me something else, which then gets to the foundation of all of this elitism I just described. And I yield. Thank you for the time, my sister. And my brother.
Okay, thank you much, brother. Peace and love.
Mr. Power.
Yes,
peace and love.
Indeed, brother. Thank you for that drop, as usual. It's truly appreciated. Okay, family, just quick recap, because I want us to be mindful of who the founding fathers are of the 13 colonies of the Americas. It is the black nobility kings of Europe. So I'm back in the book of the Negro Question, Part 6, the 13 Black Colonies, by Lee Cummings. All right. So here are the founding fathers. Okay. King James Stuart, King Charles I Stuart, King Charles II Stuart, King James II, and King George III. And here are the years that they founded. Okay, and when I hate to even use founded, y'all, so please forgive me, because the shit pisses me the fuck off. Because you can't found something that was already here. Yeah, established, exactly. Established. I'll say established, all right, with their commerce system, because that's all it really is. Okay, thank you, Brother Sean. 1607, Virginia founded by Black Scott King James I. 1620, Massachusetts, Maine, founded by King James I. 1620, New England, founded by King James I. 1632, Maryland, founded by King Charles I. 1629, New Hampshire, founded by, established, and it's saying in the book founded, but I'm established by King Charles. 1636, Rhode Island, established by King Charles II. 1638, Delaware, established by King Charles II. 1663, North Carolina, founded by King Charles II. 1636, Connecticut, established by King Charles II. 1681, Pennsylvania, established by King Charles II. 1663, South Carolina, established by King Charles II. 1664, King James, Second Duke of York, founded or established New Jersey. 1732, Georgia, established by Black Germans, King George II. And remember, when we get to King George II, he is of that German particular family bloodline, and he was the one that issued in that Windsor name. Okay, all right, so that's the recap. So we're going to go on to the next charter. Let me see which one we left off on. Hold on a second, family. I'm getting to the page. Got so many notes notes in this book. Pennsylvania. Okay, that's where we left off. The Charter of Pennsylvania. Now I'm on page 82 if you're in the book. Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission, and he just shows a picture of Charles II. So he goes, Charles II, by the grace of God, King of England, Scotland, France, and Ireland, defender of the faith and company, to all whom these presents shall come, greets. Excuse me. Whereas our trustees and well-beloved subject William Penn, Esquire, son and heir of William, to enlarge our English empire and promote such useful commodities as also to reduce the savage natives by gentle and just maimers to the love of civil society and Christian religion. Okay, so we may have talked about this last week, or this may have been in the other charter. Okay, but I'm just going to point it out again. How they came with that goddamn religion. Okay, that Christian religion. Okay, because remember, this is the bloodline of the Romans. All right, so here's the author. The wording of this chapter proves that it never entered into the mind of the black Stuart kings to enslave the native Indians. King Charles II is explicit when he says, reduce the savage natives by gentle and just manners. This charter was issued in 1681 by a Stuart Scottish Highlander king, and the key phrase in this document is gentle and just. Do I have to explain what gentle and just means? It is written, he that would have friends must first show himself friendly. It appears that the Black Scots came into North America with friendship as their guide. There is no mention of slavery in this document. Okay, and so far, all the other charters that we went through as well, they mentioned nothing of slavery. It was all about commerce and about getting the natives to recognize their Christianity and them establishing the territory boundaries within these charters or these contractual business agreements to do commerce. And in one of the charters, they specifically said, that particular king specifically said that their job was to make sure as they were mining the minerals out of the Americas that the king got his cut. Okay? So again, this is all about commerce. Everywhere that these Romans go, they destroy. Everywhere. Because they use their guise as religion on what their God told them that they have authority to go out and conquer the world, to take the land under their banner of their God and their religion. But every society, every land that they inhabited, they destroy and collapse it because they're using a system, their system of commerce, and I don't give a fuck how they remix it. It's the same formula, and it works against natural law because you don't need gold and silver and diamonds and what they're calling currency, money, and financial systems. It's all against nature. It's all an illusion. That's why every civilization that these Romans set up, and they keep renaming themselves different things, but the same motherfucking people, it collapses because it is against the natural order. All right. Okay. So the laws for regulating and governing, and so I'm back on what's up in the charter for Pennsylvania. And again, people, this is not the entire charter. He's just giving us excerpts from it. You can go online once again and pull these old charters yourself, and read through them, and you will be just astounded and disgusted at the same time, because you're going to see where they literally sat up on their ass, came into the indigenous or the original folks, our land, and carved up our stuff, came into our establishment and carved it up for the purpose of profit, and issued land sources out of Mother Earth and used her people on as resources as well, and put a tax on them and indenture servants on them to just inhabit her, already given to the people by birthright. These are the patterns of your Romans. All right? Okay, so here we go. The laws for regulating and governing of property within the said province, as well for the descent and enjoyment of lands, as likewise for the enjoyment and succession of goods and chattels, and likewise as to felonies, shall be and continue the same, as they shall be for the time being by the general course of the law of our kingdom of England, until the said law shall be altered by the said William Penn, his heirs and assignees, and by the freemen, okay, freemen. So now you should start putting those connections on that freeman term, and why that surname, freeman, is even in play. And who usually carries the surname of Freeman? I'll pause, take a sip of water. Melanated people. Usually, if you see someone with a Freeman last name or surname, it is a melanated person. All right. And by the freeman of the said province, their delegates or deputies, or the greater part of them. William Penn issued his own charter, and if you backtrack and reread the essay of Benjamin Franklin, you could see that the indentured servants and convicts were flooding into the Pennsylvania colony. Okay? So that's another thing that folks don't want to motherfucking talk about. When we talk about indentured servants on this land, and what they use the term slavery, which is really Slavs, it's speaking of the Caucasian folks that they shipped over to the lands, to be the indentured servants. And that also included any of their felons. Okay, that's right up in the Pennsylvania charter, that they were shipping their felons over here. Okay, and Brother 832 spoke on it last week that Castro did the same shit when he shipped boatloads of the folks he didn't want to be bothered with. They, mainly they were saying they were prisoners of war when Castro took over, but it is said that he emptied out Cuba's motherfucking prison and sent them over. So same tactic. Same thing happened in Australia. All right. So, all right. On the next page, I have provided you with a coin depicting William Penn as a black man dated 1701. Okay. Pennsylvania Charter, 1701. The Pennsylvania Charter of 1700 was not issued by King Charles II. It was issued by William Penn himself. This charter mentions freemen, black Scots. Okay, so now y'all get that connection of where that surname freeman derived from, and why I'm sure a lot of melanated people picked up that name. All right, the charter mentioned free men, black Scots, and the liberty afforded to them. The charter never mentions the enslavement of men, but insinuates that some men are not freemen. The charter, coupled with the essay that Benjamin Franklin wrote in 1751, may be alluding to the indentured servants flooding into Pennsylvania. This change of tone in this charter corresponds to the region of the black German Hanover kings, the Georges. All right. So the Georgia Charter. I'm not going to read you the entire charter. You can do that on your own. I just want to read the most important part to you. So always, as the said bylaws, constitutions, orders, and ordinances, pains and penalties from time to time to be made and imposed be reasonable and not contrary or repugnant to the laws or statutes of this our realm. This was the original charter that was given to the people of Georgia. It wasn't until the reign of King George II that the Magna Carta was broken. King George II legalized the slave trade in Georgia and went about the business of legalizing slavery in Virginia. Independence, he said it was deleted. Thomas Jefferson's name King George II as, now that's a heavy, brother, that's a heavy one now. Sorry, family. I would have preferred you gave us receipts on that, but I'm going to read it. He's saying Thomas Jefferson names King George II as the king that legalized slavery in the colonies. Okay, so now you can take that two ways. You can take that, is it the traditional slavery that they speak on? I really don't think it's that. It's the taxation and the working your way out of debt, the indentured servitude. Okay? All right, so selling one debt to another, which is still done to this day, if you think about it. Okay? That's the whole financial system. So if you owe someone a debt and you go into default, they turn around and sell your debt to someone else. So in other words, if you had a prison sentence, you were a felon, and you supposed to be working off your sentence, and then whoever you was working off your sentence with wind up striking a deal with someone else to get paid to, now they take on you, that you now work off your debt or sentence with them. Okay, so slavery was still a commerce business. It was about working. Okay, right? So that's where the whole term of chattel slavery comes into play. All right, so here we go. Thomas Jefferson. King George II has waged cruel war against human nature itself violating its most sacred rights of life and liberty. And I'm going to tell you why he was saying this, because my take's going to be a little different on what the author is saying. King George II has waged a cruel war against human nature itself, violating its most sacred rights of life and liberty in the persons of a distant people who never offended him, captivating and carrying them into slavery in another hemisphere, or to incur miserable death in their transportation thither. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may be defined as tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a people who mean to be free. He's saying future ages will scarce believe that the hardiness of one man adventure within the short compass of 12 years only. Okay, so y'all get that motherfucking 12 years as a slave? Remember that motherfucking movie they put out? Quote, quote, blockbuster? All right. The short compass of 12 years only. On so many acts of tyranny without a mask over a people fostered and fixed in principles of liberty. And so the author said, I did the math. 1763 minus 12 equals 1751. Right? So that's the 1751 where West's face, Franklin put out the motherfucking essay complaining, saying that it was too many blacks all surrounding them. Okay? So in other words, he's saying, no, don't bring nobody from Africa, none of that, because it's not too many of us white folk here. We don't need it. Now, what I want to point out, where I differ with the author, because he's not taken up for the slavery system on behalf of the melanated people. Okay? He's taking up for the slavery debt, indentured servitude, or servant system for his Caucasian brothers and sisters. Because they were being shipped over, serving the 12 years as a Slav. Okay? That's the hidden history that they don't want to tell you. So they reversed it and put that sentence on, quote, quote, melanated people from Africa serving it. Okay? So we know that Franklin and them did not want any more melanated folks in the Americas because they said, shit, we surrounded by them. So it had to be the Caucasians that they were pissed with Charles II on for sending them over doing this hard indentured servant labor. All right. So it was saying, he said he did the math, so that comes up to 1751. He said this was the exact year that the Georgia Charter was revoked and slavery was legalized in the Georgia colony. King George took away our charters and altering fundamentally the forms of our government. It was the black German Hanover kings, the Georges, that took away the charters, and that the original colonial form of government and the original colonial government there was no such thing as slavery, and that is a fact. Okay, so they are pissed at George because he changed up the game on them as far as their deal on the commerce. All right, so Jefferson and them was seeing too many of their brothers and sisters, Caucasians, caught in this loop of indentured servants. Now, I'm not going to say that it was not indeed the indigenous people that were also caught into the trap of indentured servitude too, because as this is going on, you had indigenous tribes that also was huggy, kiss, kiss with the Europeans, aiding them in setting up these systems. Okay, so that means that some of the indigenous folks were also being caught in that loop of debt servitude as well. Okay, because as they were setting up the system of commerce, they were also instituting taxes and all of that. Okay, let me see how much of that we want to continue. Okay, so sorry, I'm just trying to get the bang for the buck here, family. Yep. So Thomas Jefferson, they are permitting their chief magistrate to send over not only soldiers, detachments of our common blood. Okay, so as I said, it was the Caucasian folks he was complaining about, but Scott and foreign mercenaries to invade and deluge us in blood. All right, so the author goes, who are these Scott and foreign mercenaries, Mr. Jefferson? The answer lies in Benjamin Franklin's essay, 1751. All right, so that goes back to him saying about since detachment of England from Britain sent to America will have their places at home so soon supplied and increased so largely here. Why should Pennsylvania, founded by the English, become a colony of aliens who will shortly be so numerous as to Germanize us? King James and his was German, okay? Instead are anglifying them, and will never adopt our language or customs any more than they can acquire our complexion. All right, so this is going back into Benjamin Franklin telling you that the Germans were black and King George was a black German king. Okay, so that is pretty powerful because today everybody puts the whole World War II and the killing of the Jews, this, that, and the third on Nazism, Germans, okay? But now we're seeing back in 1751 that the Germans who sat on the throne were melanated. Okay? So the author just once again goes into reminding us that, which leads me to add one remark, that the number of purely white people in the world is proportionately very small. Now, I'm going to say this again. This is not my words. This not even Brother Lee Cummings' words. This is coming from Benjamin Franklin. He is telling you that the number of purely white people in the world is proportionately very small. All Africa is black or tawny. Asian, chiefly tawny. America, exclusively of the newcomers, wholly so. And in Europe, the Spaniards, Italian, French, Russians, and Swedes are generally of what we call swarthy complexion, as are the Germans also. Okay? So that means that Saxon name that people want to associate with white Germans, that is a melanated black nobility name. And they have the commerce coins to prove it, as well as the family crest to prove it. Okay. Let me see. All right. So he just goes on to say the King George II was a black German, and he was King of England in 1751. I want to ask you a question. If the Scots, Brits, and Irish were black according to Boyd Dawkins, page 3, and then he puts himself in there, and Lee Cummings, how come Benjamin Franklin didn't include them among the tawny or black in Europe? Okay. All right. He was saying by the year 1751, the black Scots, Britons, and black Irish have been deported to Barbados, Americas, West Indians, Jamaica, or beyond the sea. What was the after effect of the deportation of the black Scots? Once the children of the three kingdoms were deported, the whites assumed the names, royal titles, lands, and most importantly, their heritage. Okay, so I'm going to pause there because I'm just going to put on that. Excuse me now. Now we know just by doing additional research that they did not steal those titles and names. They were granted permission to use those titles and names because they had to change the face of who was to carry out their Roman and Egyptian system. So it switched from the melanated black face to a white face. Okay? But you better believe, even with the white faces that we see today sitting on these thrones, I'm not saying that all of them tie back to those bloodlines of the melanated black nobles, but they damn sure are appointed by them, and they take their orders back to the old world bloodline. Because contrary to what the conspiracy folks are telling you about the New World Order, the New World Order has already happened. It was to conquer the entire planet under one banner of the Roman and Egyptian Empire. They give not a damn or give no fucks, as the young folks say, on who is the face of that empire, and they hide it by making the world believe it's separate empires by putting up these different nations and countries and continents with these different flags or banners. But if you do research and you know the truth, all you have to do is look at those same crests, those same symbols, those same banners, those same surnames, and realize it does not matter of the complexion of the person. It is the same bloodline that is being represented. Okay, so I'll pause in case somebody want to put something on it. Oh.
Let me see.
I know that was a lot.
Just going back to that article, Benjamin Franklin's essay, the fact that all of the world, known world, at that time was melanated. And he said it was very few of them
right.
in the whole world. I mean, for some reason that's saying that obviously they're not natural to here.
I would say that I would agree.
That's not being racial or prejudice. I mean, everybody knows and admits that there's an Aboriginal people here.
Right.
So, by very definition of that, if you're not Aboriginal or autochthonous or,
right,
why do you think you have a right to anything? And of course, they would have to steal names and stuff because they're not from here and don't have names.
Right.
Not anything natural. But people are spending too much energy on the whole race thing.
Yes, too much.
Even if all the quote-unquote white people died in 2 minutes, shit's still gonna be fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Because the system is still in place. The white folks didn't create the system.
No, they did not.
The system was already in place.
Yep.
They was just given the reins.
That's right. And used as patsies, quite honestly, but yeah. Yep.
Well, they know it. They dumbasses don't care. So, I mean, if you want to be a patsy and run around just assuming everybody else's identity because you don't have one, then, I mean, what does that leave you for real, for real? I mean, they everywhere claiming to be everybody worshiping everything that everybody else worships.
Exactly.
And they got the nerve to say that we're lost and backwards and uncivilized.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, they've been caught in the same game as well, and it's even worse because the melanated people, we just keep placing ourselves over in Africa. And I'm speaking specifically of the Americans or of the Americas. But it goes deeper for the Caucasian race. It really goes a lot deeper. And they're going to have to also get themselves together and dig deep within and do their genealogy and look at the truth for what it is. And it's not going to be a pretty picture. Not at all. Okay, but, it is what it is. If you say you want to move forward and you want to walk through truth and you want to, be of the higher vibration, you can't go into no higher vibration and lies. Lies and higher vibration, it's not on the same frequency. I'm going to say that again, and this is for everyone. Lies and high vibration do not resonate together. So anybody that's still playing these games with themselves, burying their head in the sand, I don't give a damn if it's melanated, white, Native American, Indian, Chinese, don't matter. That's not vibrating high. Sorry, go ahead, Brother Sean.
I was done.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to real quick just give you a spiel on the Black American Indians. He does touch on that. I'm going to slight a little differently from what he says based on our additional research, but nonetheless, very powerful information. We're still in the Negro Question Part 6, the 13 Black Colonies. This is Chapter 5, page 89, and he talks about the Black American Indians. I want to see if we are on the same page. Have you been asking yourself the same question that I've been asking myself throughout the first 4 chapters of this book? If these Black Scots existed, what happened to them concerning this matter? A huge percentage of the Black Scots got absorbed into the Black Indian population. Okay? So anybody that has researched your heritage and you see, and I'm speaking with the melanated folks of the Americas, and you see if you go back so far and it tells you that you need to go over to one of these European nations to get the records, now you should be entering overstanding, making this connection. Okay? All right. He says, second, the whites exterminated the indigenous Indians along with the Black Scots, and the history of the Black Scots got merged together with the history of the Black slaves in the South. So that I disagree with him on, because as we know, this system that was set up by the melanated kings. Okay, so all those wars happened under the melanated kings. We also know that they set up the quote white faces to take these particular positions. Okay, so although the white may have carried it out, which they still have to be accountable for that, at the end of the day, it was still a melanated Egyptian/Roman system. Okay, but I do agree with him that the Scots were blended in with the indigenous Indians of the Americas. Okay, so they just merged the histories into one, and they put the title of slavery on top of it. Okay, he said, we were taught in the government-sponsored school system that the runaway slaves sought refuge among the Indians, but they never taught us that the Indians were black, right? So he just goes in on the next couple of pages to show you the original black Indians of the Americas. He shows you pictures, and a lot of us that have done this particular research, we already know these things. He goes into the cigar figures, etc., etc. He goes into the whole Spain as well. Okay, so we're not going to go over that because he, pulls the pictures of the Florida King of North America of the 19th century, the Florida Constitution of 1671. So he goes into that a little bit. So that should be nothing new to us that have been researching such things of who the indigenous or autochthonous ones of the Americas really are. Okay, so now I'll pause. If anybody want to put something on it before we get into the whole Asia thing, press *1 to get in the queue. If not, we are going to go into it. And what's up? I am the universe. I see you in there dropping that knowledge. Like you always do, you in there having a conversation with a couple people. Leaf, what's up with you? Peace and love. Y'all going back and forth, dropping some good information. All right, so we're going to go to, we're back into the Negro question part 4. We're going to go into the Black Russians, okay? So y'all see why I had to get these 2 books. You see how I'm jumping back and forth between the 2 and pulling other pieces of information as well to put it all together. All right, but again, this brother did a hell of a good job. And I also want to point out that he also has in his books these crests that shows you the empire of the Romans, the same crests and symbols that are being used today, and the same crests and symbols that were used in that whole Tartarian empire shit that they trying to pass off on, because it's the same people. All right, so I'm on page 71 where he gets into the Black Russians, right? So he shows images of Constantine the Great, the Russian Tsar Alex Makai, and the Russian Empress Helena. And he shows an image of the cross of Kiev, a replica of the true cross of the Moscow Kremlin. Okay, so anybody that's into that whole Tartarian movement, they put that solely as being more of a white empire coming out of Russia. Okay, that cannot be so if we're sitting here looking at the crest of melanated folks. So those Russian czars were melanated. All right. So he goes, this is an image of Constantine the Great, Russian Tsar Alex, and it could be Alexei, excuse me if that's the case, and Russian Empress Helena. This image is dated in the year 1681, which brings us to within 70 years of Benjamin Franklin's statement that the Russians were a black people. Now remember, he said that shit in 1751. Okay, so on the next page, we will exceed the statement of Benjamin Franklin that the Russians were a black race of people in his generation. Now again, he wrote that in 1751. Author is showing us different pictures of these melanated czars and empresses in 1681. Okay, so Tartarians, what the fuck y'all talking about? And those same crests that you're using are these particular black nobles' crests. It's the same Roman Empire. All right. So he gives another image of Duke of Corlin and Semi-Gallons, and this is Ernest Johann von Braun. Okay, so now he could be mulatto, mixed, whatever. But it goes, this is an image of Ernest Johann von Baron, regent of the Russian Empire in 1740. And you can see from these images that Russians are still tawny, swarthy, or black. We have exceeded Benjamin Franklin's statement by 21 years. Now, when you compare this evidence with the fact that Russia was invited, okay, so here we go, y'all. Let's start making these connections together, okay, because you can kind of pinpoint when the Caucasian faces started being put on these empires, okay, on these thrones. All right. Now, when you compare this evidence with the fact that Russia was invited to the Berlin Conference but did not colonize Africa, you can see why. So, his logic is the reason they didn't colonize Africa was because it was melanated people. I kind of beg to differ because they colonized Americas. That was melanated people. So there was another reason why they didn't colonize Africa at that time. But I digress. Anyway, says another thing that we need to remember is that Russia was not allowed to be a member of the League of Nations. Could it be that the Russians were too swarthy? All the nations that were present were white or English, as per the proof Benjamin Franklin's letter and the eyewitnesses. Russia wasn't at the time. So he's given 1740. Oh, that's interesting. There's a book called The People of the Caucasus for Kavlovsky, 1914. And they're showing a black Russian family in 1914. So I'm going to ask again, Tartarians, where was the white sitting on the throne back in that time? All right. So then he gives a picture of the Black Russian Army, National Geographic Magazine, Volume 1, 1917. Black Russian Army, 1917, in National Geographic. Okay, he said, I had to search the Russian National Archives to find this matching column of Black Russian militia. But I wasn't surprised because Benjamin Franklin had stated in 1751 that the Russians were swarthy, tawny, or black. Okay? So I'm not going to go into the rest. Let me make sure because he did talk about something else. Okay, I'm not going to go into the that. Okay, so that's just the spiel on Russia family. Okay, so Russia was black, y'all. So Tartarian community, y'all could come off of it with that fuck shit. Tell the truth. The Russian Empire did not have the entire planet as you all are trying to make it out to seem. Yeah, the flags and stuff look similar, but that's because it is the same Roman Empire, not Tartarian Empire. So y'all done took a small portion of a territory called Tartar and done blew the shit up into some elaborate shit. Now, I do give you credit about the mudfloods. We know that that happened via catastrophe that was hitting the planet. We do know that we had ancient technology, what they're calling electricity. We do know that we had far advanced more technology and that it was suppressed. But the rest of that stuff, you need to go back and dig a little further. Either you don't know, I only know one person, and forgive me for forgetting your name, one Caucasian man that said that the Moors, and he were putting it in the term of the Moors, sat on those thrones. Everybody else, you know who you are. Gone with the fuck shit. You're lying. Don't know you're lying. Then you're putting out misinformation because you have not done your research. Okay. All right, so I'll pause. Brother Sean or Sister, you all want to put anything on the Black Russians before we go into the Asians?
Yeah, there's pictures of Black Russians with the big hair.
Yeah.
They now wear the hat after. And the Tartars, they were basically gypsies, roaming nomads. So, I mean, since when have gypsies or roaming nomads built cities? I mean,
I don't know.
They wasn't riding with no technology that I know of to be able to harness electricity or make buildings or anything. Because, I mean, they lived out in the plains, didn't they? And I mean, even when the quote-unquote Native Americans got here and claimed that they just found stuff here and wasn't nobody around, a lot of them was like in the plains and places like that where we just wasn't tilling in dirt and in the rocks.
Right.
That's another reason I don't believe that we came from in the earth. That's like saying in a cave. We weren't cave dwellers. I mean, we melanated. We're children of the sun, not
of the
children
sun.
of the
Exactly.
ground. Even though we came from mama, but you don't live in your mama's stomach forever. I mean, you got to come out.
Exactly. All right, let me go to 218 before we get into the Asia. 218, your line is open. Oh, shoot. Your line is open.
Peace and love, family. Peace and love, Rhonda. How are you?
Peace and love, beloved. How are you?
Great. Fantastic. This is Rob Royal Donnell, Northwest American. I'm listening, and I was hearing, and I like the book that you're using. I like the fact that you're pointing to some creative source material. It's just the time frame that material is coming from. It kind of reminds me of 1984. I think it's George Orwell that shows how the rewriting of history and the forgetting of things just overnight that we can go through in this whole process, this whole scheme of things. And I say that because I don't know if you ever covered any of Mac Ritchie's material, but one in particular is the Gypsies of Scotland or the Gypsies of Ireland. I'm not sure which that he uses in the title. But the point is that he's dealing back in, before the 15th century and coming forward. And he shows and makes connections using the different societies with like the King's Court records and the other societies that, they didn't play games with those particular records. So, and he was showing how certain things were quoted in there to show some truths that you never really see when a historian begins to write a book. But because of the reference and the source is similar to your journals from the ship. Certain things, it's like a manifest. And one of the major things that always stuck out in my mind was the fact that when he was dealing with the gypsies, some kind of way, I don't know if it's inside the book or inside some of the other researches that I've been doing, it sort of equated to Egyptian because we still was dealing with people who couldn't really speak, and they would shorten and change things, and the way they said things sound different from the way they were. And he was showing in the book how it was also equated to the characteristics, like the what you call it, the court gestures and the music things, the people that he was showing how all that was part of the creativity that connects to a lot of the characteristics and the history on the things that the Moors brought about in terms of the entertainments and things like that. But most importantly was he showed references of a particular king, and they keep playing name games with these kings, and Charles might be James, and James might be John, and he might be the third, fourth, or fifth. Right. So they keep playing these name games, but he showed how there were instances where if quote-unquote gypsy was being charged with a crime, that the king's court would not even hear it. They would refer it to someone they called John Brown, I believe, who was supposed to have been like a head guy in the Society of the Moors. And they made that distinction very clear. And another thing that had transpired was that at a certain point, when they felt like these quote-unquote gypsies, because they kept interchanging it, usually the only consistency was Swazi people and things like that. But they said this particular king had gave them like the run of the mill, whatever they wanted. They had a location. They didn't have to pay for anything. And but at a certain time, when the rulership or something was changing, or there was a fight between the different kingdoms, then a particular next king, I don't know if it's grandson or, if they broke the line or what, but the next king wanted to remove these people from the whole, all the islands, Scotland, Ireland, England, from all those places. And they said, and it was written in these notes, that we're going to have to ship them back to where they belong. And guess where that back and where they belong was? Over back to the Americas. And so that always stuck in my mind, the fact that it appeared that you had folks over there who were actually originally from here. And so that's just a major piece to a puzzle that I've still been, working on, but not so focused because I got to work on the present.
Right, I understand.
Can you want us to get
do you mind giving us that name of that book? It sounds interesting. I think you said the John Mackey. Is that the author?
No. McRitchie is the last name of the author. I can't think of the first name for the life of me.
Okay, what's the name of the book?
The Gypsies of either Ireland or Scotland.
Okay.
One
that
or the
sounds
other.
really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
As I say, the reason why I appreciate it so much is because of the reference sources that he was using.
Right.
Actually,
you got receipts
and documents. Yes. And I noticed that you're bringing out a lot of information like that from those journals. It's just that I noticed there's a great time span difference, and I don't want us to get confused about that either. So that we have so many different things going on through the ages. Till at one point it looks like all these heads of companies are melanin deficient folks, and like as if they were original, and we know that ain't gonna work.
That's not the case. Right. Indeed. Well, thank you, brother, for coming on and dropping us that jewel. That's definitely something to take a look at. The gypsies, you said it's either of Ireland or the gypsies of Scotland. So yeah, that's interesting, because as we've been doing this research, it just so happened that Brother Sean, what was the other brother that put out the video, and he mentions the gypsies, but he was putting them in the content of Asia, if I'm not mistaken. I can't. He carries a more title. Yeah, a seer. Yeah, a seer. I couldn't remember his name. Yeah. He kind of brought up the gypsies as well. So I would definitely want to check out, see if I could get my hands on this particular book. So thank you, brother, for calling in.
I just thank y'all as well. Yes.
Okay. I appreciate you, brother. Peace and love.
Appreciate y'all.
All right. Okay, then. Go ahead, brother.
When I say gypsy, I'm referring to like the image that Hollywood has given us. These people that don't have a home and just wandering around and making home wherever they can get.
The wandering gypsies. That's where the term came from, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. That's interesting, because I think the image of a gypsy, you think of them to be of Arabic or Asian kind of descent.
No, I picture them black.
That's interesting. That's really, really interesting. Wow.
To me, anybody that's just going around conquering, I mean, you just wandering around just fucking with shit because it's there.
Right. Why can't you just stay where you originated from, call that your home, and why the need to go out and conquer these different lands under the guise of what your God told you to do? So that's very, very interesting spin on it, Brother Sean. Very interesting. But
the demiurge did tell them to do it, though.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, yeah, I'm going to try to find that book, family, and if I find it, I'll read through it or whatever, and then we'll come back and chop it up on some of that material at a later date, because, yeah, that's interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because,
I'm sorry, go ahead, brother.
I mean, we already know that everything was melanated at first, so, I mean, as far as for any quote-unquote authentic name, then it would naturally go back to melanated people.
Right. Yep.
But the whole thing that we overlooking, I mean, okay, it's exciting to know that the whole planet was melanated at one time, but we still had atrocities going on when it was all melanated. And we still ain't came to terms or to grips with that. We still blaming everything outside of ourselves.
That's
and
right.
What you were saying earlier, I mean, I just don't see all this everybody being one and love, healing everything when certain people aren't dealing with reality. I mean,
I agree.
If you truly love somebody, You admit what you've done wrong, and you try and do right.
Yep.
You don't just pretend like it didn't happen and just be like, oh, well, we're all equal. Okay, get over it.
Right. Right. It's actually unacceptable. That behavior is unacceptable, actually.
Totally. So I just don't understand how there's going to be a wealth redistribution when y'all didn't have anything to begin with. What are you going to redistribute?
That's the reality that people don't want to face, and that goes back to, and give shout out to Brother Kalai, because that's his term, and I love the way he put it, cognitive dissonance. That's what the fuck that is.
Mm-hmm.
How you gonna get some redistribute when you didn't have anything to begin with? And how do you think that someone that didn't have anything to begin with is in charge of redistributing some shit?
Mm-hmm.
So that logic within itself, you know that it's a lie right there. People wake up. And that's why I catch an attitude real motherfucking fast, quick in a hurry, when folks want to push this reset shit down our throats, but yet I'm supposed to look to the very same oppressor, whether it be one person or a system, to redistribute my shit? Oh, no. That don't fly with me.
Well, I look at it a different way. Well, I understand your way, but I heard a different side of that story. When he said that, is that they didn't strip us down to so much. What are they going to give us? Because we have nothing to give back to get back. So that's what that redistribution concept doesn't even make any sense. You don't have anything. They done took it all. And so they're going to try to give us that fake fiat again. So that's the
con right there, sis. That is the biggest con right there. That they can just write a check, a.k.a. reparation, and wipe out all the atrocities when that check ain't worth the motherfucking ink that it's going to dry upon it.
Well, I
say again, it's not about their commerce system.
Yeah.
It is about the land.
The commerce system was broke. They all this loaning they did was with a bounced check. They didn't have nothing in the bank account.
And that's
correct. The
correct.
whole system. That's how the system is set up. They didn't have any money to start. We gave them the impetus to say your money was worth something. But how can you start a system, the Federal Reserve and all that kind of stuff, when you didn't even have any money to start with? What are you reserving?
Exactly. But
we got in debt.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We got in debt when they didn't even have any money. What they do is loan it to us on our trust, our own signature. And that's how they go and get the money.
And let's just dig even a little deeper. The fact that the planet is under the spell and the guise of money.
Right.
That is the slavery trap right there. Because you cannot convince me that indigenous, autochthonous people across Mother Earth who already had the land as the caretakers. We're not even the owners of the land. We are caretakers. So you had somewhere to sleep. You had somewhere to shit, shower, and shave, and eat. But now all of a sudden you dependent on money and a commerce system, and folks are still asleep and do not see that that is the biggest spell and con within itself.
Yeah, that's true.
That has been the con of the Roman Empire. They come in, starting out as friendly, then started introducing their trinkets
and give you back your stuff.
Doing business, and then slowly but surely, next thing you know, the indigenous, autochthonous ones call themselves letting them be on their land conducting commerce, when right there they seal their fate.
Right.
They were out of violation right there. Because I say, and I say again, Mother Earth is not for sale. And until people get that in their mind and in their souls and let go of the debt slavery system and honor and respect the land, they're going to continue to be cursed, and they're going to continue to be up under that spell.
Right. You know, we started out with the wrong concept. We had no land because all the land was ours. We had no gold because all the gold was on the ground. Everything was there for us. And then they came and gave us their little old trinkets, as you say. And their trinkets didn't have any value. What we had, we have to be grateful for what our stewardship was. It was care for the land. So now they give us our land back, and we have to pay for it. That is crazy. I think that's the craziest con on the planet.
And they haven't given back no land. They ain't gave back no damn land.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if that ain't the biggest motherfucking con, please explain to me. Fuck the Federal Reserve shit. That's a later con. And that's so bizarre that people so caught up in that, when you see what you see, that shit is just flat out disgusting. Let's get back to the biggest motherfucking con, that another motherfucker came to your establishment and make you pay on your own shit.
That's
the biggest con.
And then put you in jail if you say that they doing that. You know, come on now.
And folks still not getting it. Still concerned about a motherfucking reset, a motherfucking package. Still not making the connection to the land. And being grounded. As they sit and wait years and years and decades for their fucking reset. And even if they give it to them, they still gonna be enslaved.